Hello, everyone. This is Derek. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. We're finished up with practice, so I'm going to turn it over to Coach to review Minnesota and take your questions on Maryland.
Obviously we talked at great length after the game about the Minnesota game, tale of two halves. I just thought that the second half, our energy level, our inspiring effort, our attention to detail, our pace, all those things were just really, really good. And we got to build on those. I challenged them a little bit with that after the day off with practice. Yesterday we may have had our best practice of the year. Thought we were really good again. Guys had a great energy about them, really worked, great effort. And then today, obviously, we practiced a little bit different with what we've got coming up with the trip, 2 road games, Indianapolis on the horizon next week. So, we tried to be smart with it. So today was more of a mental day. Guys were pretty sharp. And, I feel like that we've starting to really make some progress with the older guys. I thought they've really stepped up. I gave them a lot of responsibility yesterday in practice, much like we did in the game the other day. I think that they're starting to turn the corner, and that's pretty exciting for those guys. I've been hard on them, and I think they're starting to understand the importance of uniting our team as upperclassmen, and I think that's a great thing, not only for us now, but moving forward as well. So that part's huge. Obviously we got Maryland, and they're really good. They're great at both ends of the floor. Their size, their athleticism on the defensive end reminds me a lot of Purdue. They're just enormous. They affect 2-point field goal percentage with that size. They're a great shot blocking team. They're very active defensively with their length and that size. So they're good on that end. They're good on the glass. And then offensively, obviously they have a very dominant and gifted point guard. And their 2 guard, Suleiman, transferred from Duke, has really made an impact on their team, a prolific scorer. I've always really liked Layman. I just think he puts his hard hat on and plays both ends and plays the game the right way. And he's been very efficient and is a tough cover as a 3-man at 6'9", 220. So you don't see threes that big most of the time. And so he poses some problems there. And then obviously their front line with Carter and with Stone, with Dodd and Shakovsky. I mean, those guys they're experienced. 3 of the 4 very experienced. Carter being a transfer, Dodd being an older guy who basically started every game last year and has started several this year. Shakovsky, a guy who played a lot last year, played a lot in our game last year. And then obviously a really talented leading scorer in Diamond Stone. So, their front line's very impressive. And, I know they've got a great place to play there as well with their environment. So it'll be a great challenge, but, we're looking forward to it. The last time that we were out on the road, I thought we played really well. And we've got to, continue to piggyback that effort, clean a few things up here and there, and, hopefully put ourselves in a position when you're on the road, you have an opportunity to win the basketball game by executing your game plan and really playing one possession at a time. I do think that, rebounding will be important. I think taking care of the ball and shot selection will be really important. You don't want to have wasted possessions, and you don't want to give them extra possessions via the backboard. It's important that we're competitive rebounding the ball. Questions?
Hey, Coach, this is Scott. You're going to stay out, on the East Coast for this trip. It's different than any other road trip this year. Does that change things for you guys, where you've got to find, a place to practice, or you're going to be away from home for 5 days instead of back and forth?
Yeah, obviously it's a different type of trip. We haven't done that before, but the schedule kind of dictated with a late game tomorrow night and then a 11 a.m. Central Time game on Sunday that it was wise that we do that. And so we're going to do that and, roll with the punches. Our groups traveled a lot together. Obviously we had the foreign trip together. And, at this point we've had several road trips. So, will we practice while we're out on the road in between Maryland and Penn State? Absolutely. We'll be careful as to how we do that again this time of year. I think it's important to really gauge their minds where their bodies, Scott, are at physically. Yeah, we'll do that on the road, and I let Mark Morris coordinate all that. And he does a terrific job. So I let him kind of run with all the logistics.
John's Mark, you talked about the halftime situation the other day where Malcolm and Ken maybe got a little more involved in trying to get the team pointed in a better direction in the second half. Is there an opportunity for them to amp that up during the game? For instance, if you started out and had a rough patch there, can they become more involved during the game before you get in at halftime if need be?
They need to be. They're older guys. They've been here for 3 years. And not just them. I think people assume immediately that it's just them, but I thought that Lewis really stepped up as well as an older guy. I thought Morgan played better in the second half. I thought it was really a collective effort by our entire team. Obviously, spearheaded by those two guys. But yeah, I hope it's something they can build on and understanding that, especially this time of year, they've got at this point, schemes and strategies and all that. I mean, there'll be a few wrinkles here and there, a few game time adjustments or during the game, some game management stuff. But at this time of year, the bulk of who you are is who you are. And those guys know who we are, who we want to be, and where we want to go. And for us to get there, you got to have your upperclassmen being guys that can help you coach your team, certainly this time of year. So I challenged them. I've been challenging them, and I thought that they really stepped up the other day and with our practices the last couple of days.
This is Scott again. You got some stops in the second half against Minnesota and turn those into transition buckets and push the tempo a little more. Did that just feel right? Is that something this team maybe looks its best at? Yeah,
I mean, I've always, anyone that's followed us, I mean, we prefer to run and play in transition, and our guys, we want to do that. But the best transition teams are good defensive teams, Scott. You have to be able to get stops, whether that's forcing a turnover or that's rebounding competitively on the defensive backboard. Those are the things that allow you to get out in transition. And if you're taking the ball out of the net the majority of the game, or a good portion of it, it's very difficult to get out, and that's true. I think regardless of what team you're talking about. So, as those guys said after the game, really our offense was able to feed off of our defense, our ability to get stops, deflections, first-time rebounds. Our effectiveness defensively is what really allowed us to be better offensively.
Anything else for Coach?
I'm good.
Okay, guys.
Thanks, guys.
I see some of you out there. Thanks. Safe travels.